welcome to the Football Kingdom podcast. I'm Brandon Johnson. Tyler Mallon with me as always. Tyler, what's going on? I feel like it's been forever since we've been on the mic together, so good to be back doing this.
Yeah, we're a little late here, but as the episode title says, like, we're covering the Chiefs' schedule today, and we had to wait for at least Wednesday night, which was last night. It's now Thursday afternoon, and had some time to digest this schedule, and we're gonna break down most of the upcoming season here and kind of see what we're dealing with this.
Yeah, so let's hop into it. I think something that's just so interesting about the NFL is that it was May 15th when this came out, and there's so much anticipation and excitement for a schedule, and it just kind of further solidifies that NFL is king of sports in North America. So, but let's get into it. So obviously, I'm just gonna read games 1 through 17 just to let everybody know our opponents. I'm not gonna break down. We're not gonna go into depth in every game because I think we'll have plenty of time to do that during the actual season. But definitely some matchups and kind of stints in the schedule that really stand out that we're going to talk about today. But just game 1 through 17, I'm going to give it to you real quick. Ravens, Bengals, Falcons, Chargers, Saints, 49ers, Raiders, Buccaneers, Broncos, Bills, Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, and Broncos. So I think a couple things that stick out to me right off the bat. Obviously, the Chiefs are Super Bowl champions, and the Super Bowl champions have, at least in recent years, been opening the season on that Thursday night football game, hosting and kind of celebrating the championship. That's kind of just become tradition in Kansas City recently that happens. But usually, like last season, it was the Detroit Lions, the up and coming Detroit Lions. It's been like the Houston Texans, I think the last time the Chiefs won. And you know that they're going to give us a good matchup because it's opening the season. And the Chiefs have a tall task, not only in week 1, but in week 2. So week 1, they open hosting the Baltimore Ravens, who they had to take down on the road in the AFC Championship game. And then the very next week have to host the Cincinnati Bengals, the Joe Burrow Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow will be back. He'll be healthy. The Bengals will be in the mix for that AFC 1 seed again. And these first 2 games for me, like this could really set the tone for who's in charge in the AFC 2 weeks into the season.
Yeah, this is a weird to have these 2 kind of powerhouses right off to begin your season. The NFL really doesn't do that. They always give you a nice game to start the season, obviously with, whoever won the Super Bowl gets that opener, to open the season. And that's huge. Like, you play Baltimore and it's a rematch of the championship game. That's going to be insane. Like, that's pretty awesome for everybody involved, and I'm not, particularly worried about that. It is what it is. Chiefs lost week 1 last year, and look what happened. I'm not really concerned whether or not it's a tough matchup in week 1 or whatever. Everybody's saying, like, the Ravens are the better team still, even after the Chiefs beat them. It's like, well, okay, sure, on paper and their roster and everything, they probably were the better team, but they got outplayed and outcoached probably, and that's what matters. Like, they got beat. That's going to be an insane opener, like, for the Chiefs to hang the banner, on the Ravens at home. I saw the week 1, or maybe it was like week 2, or maybe it was the home opener. Or maybe I think it was like a week 2 or something, but I think it was in 2019, like when the Chiefs played the Ravens. I was at that game. That was cool. That was one of Mahomes games I went to, and yeah, really good. Fun seeing Harbaugh like his head explode on the sideline like 15 times a game because he doesn't like some call. But yeah, the part about this is the Bengals, back to back, like that is kind of huge. I don't know if this is just like the NFL saying, "Listen, Burrow, you got to be healthy this time to play against the Chiefs, so we're going to put you up early, or what?" But it's an interesting place to put both of these games. The bright side for the Chiefs is that they're both at home. All right, the Chiefs get kind of a mini bye here because they play on that Thursday to open the season, and they don't have to play until that next Sunday, on the 15th. So they get basically 10 days of rest or whatever it is. So they at least get some sort of leeway here, having to play these two powerhouses back to back. They have to play them at home. I don't know. It's kind of a weird one. I haven't really seen them set up games like this, like unless you can remember something like that. But I'm not too concerned, I guess, is my only kind of take here. I think it's going to be awesome, to have those two types of games. And the Bengals game is, the later slot on CBS. But yeah, I'm not really like too worried, I guess, is kind of my take.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, in the Chiefs dynasty, I'm not gonna take. Let's say that they go 1-1, or let's say they go 0-2, which obviously wouldn't be ideal. But they've shown that, and they've made the Bills an example in this, like, and even the Bengals, like a regular season matchup that maybe the Chiefs lose doesn't necessarily equal a postseason loss later down the road. Especially when you're talking about a week 1 and week 2 matchup. I think most teams look completely different in December than they do in September. Yeah. So, but
I guess I should explain that. It's like, I'm not too concerned because of like playoff implications. Yeah, if they lose both of these games, we'll see here as we look through the schedule. I think the Chiefs make the playoffs pretty easily. You know what I'm saying? Even if they're the bottom seed here, I'm not talking wild card, but
if they're 4,
right?
If they're the 4 seed, they went to the Super Bowl as the 3 seed, so it's
exactly. That's the point. It's like it doesn't matter so long as the Chiefs get to the playoffs. That's all that matters. They just proved it last season. That's all they need. They don't need to have home field advantage and all this. It doesn't matter. They did it with that team last year. I think this team is much stronger than last year's already, even without a Rashee Rice and possibly the first 10 weeks or whatever we're talking about. I'm not, after that team and all those like crazy drops in the regular season, they showed up in the playoffs and they win the dang Super Bowl. So I'm not, again, that's kind of where I'm coming from with like, I'm not too concerned or too worried about having these two giant matchups to begin the season. I don't really think it says a whole lot about the rest of your season and home field advantage, all that. It's like at this point, whatever. So
yeah. So let's move on from those two games because there's plenty more to talk about. Week 4 against the Falcons, the Kirk Cousins Falcons. And the Chiefs are playing the NFC South this year. That game will be on Sunday Night Football. I don't want to dive too deep into that one. But week 4, they play the Chargers, the Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh Chargers. And maybe the new and improved Chargers football team. And I haven't really paid too much of attention, but I haven't seen anybody trying to anoint the Chargers the preseason champs yet.
Not yet. It'll happen.
Maybe we'll see that a little bit closer to time. But I do think that there's interest in this matchup just because I think Jim Harbaugh, and his resume shows it too, that he's a dang good coach. He just won a national championship with Michigan. He's been to a Super Bowl as an NFL coach, made deep playoff runs, and I think can bring some stability to a Chargers team that hasn't had that. And they're going to have a lot of new faces. They kind of cleaned house, even from a player standpoint. Like most of their skill position players are going to be different And it'll be interesting. I still like the Chiefs to win the AFC West, but I feel like the Chargers can be more consistent, not just against the Chiefs, but maybe just in the regular season as a whole, because that's kind of been the Chargers' thing, is they give the Chiefs everything they have and then stink the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend too much time on that because this isn't about the Chargers, but
Right.
I do think that's going to be a fun Week 4 matchup.
No, you're right. I think all you're hearing is they're going to be a run-heavy team. They still have, Herbert who can sling it. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. They pull out Easton Stick as the backup. He's still there.
So October 13th, Week 6 is the Chiefs' bye week, and that's the earliest bye week that I can think of in a long time. I feel like every one of the bye weeks, at least in the Mahomes era, has been at least Week 10, if not later. So very early bye week, which I don't love based on some of the things that are going to be happening later in the schedule.
Right.
But yeah, October 13th, and then it's just a game every week the rest of the way. And go ahead.
Sorry. I actually got the stats for this because I had the exact same thought. And I was wondering, man, that's the earliest I think Mahomes, at least, has had a bye week. And I thought it was even later, but last year it was Week 10. 22, it was Week 8. 21 was Week 12. 2020 was Week 10. And then 2019 and 18 were both Week 12.
Okay.
So this is by far, the earliest was 2022 in Week 8. Okay, gotcha. This is extremely early. And that I thought that too. I was like, man, that's kind of a disadvantage. It's always been, I feel like the Chiefs have been very lucky to get later weeks, to break up the year, especially that it was 18 weeks, when they added that. But yeah, I had the exact same thought. So I had to look that up, and that is absolutely, 2 weeks earlier than in the Mahomes era, by far, the earliest. But I don't know. It's only, I guess, 2 weeks. I'm thinking that it's not really going to affect them too much. I think it is a nice advantage to kind of rest that, late in the year. But it does set them up nicely to play, the Niners, which is kind of crazy. It's not a primetime game to have a Super Bowl rematch.
I think I think Fox probably protected this game because it's going to be in the afternoon window. It's probably going to be the game of the week. And this is going to be the first time for if you're watching just the Chiefs, that we're going to see the Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt play-by-play and color commentary duo. So
right,
I think that will be interesting. That'll be an interesting storyline along with Super Bowl rematch.
Right.
And obviously the Chiefs just have the 49ers number, both in 2 Super Bowls and even in their regular season matchups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, little off topic, but yeah, I think Brady's first game is like Dallas versus
Dallas and
Carolina
Cleveland.
Or something. Oh yeah, Cleveland's.
Yep.
Weird, I guess. I mean, sure. Dallas. Apparently, especially on Fox, Dallas pulls no matter what. They're still pulling a lot of numbers. So they're like, hey, come watch Tom Brady type of thing. So I don't know. Still kind of a strange matchup like the Browns, but that'll be, yeah. I forgot about the whole Brady of it all, but real quick, I don't know if you were going to hit this, but the Chiefs play on 6 different days of the week this year, except on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a Tuesday game. We'll get into those games in a second, but they're on CBS 8 times. Jim Nantz, obviously, is calling 8 of those games of the Chiefs this year. CBS just loves Mahomes and the Chiefs. But yeah, the Chiefs only have 5 primetime games this year. We'll kind of get into that a little bit coming up here, but It's kind of strange. Like technically they have 5 games, but there are some Friday and Saturday and the Wednesday Christmas game I would consider kind of prime time, but
I mean, I always kind of think any game in the late window, like usually
those they have
everybody
a lot
sees
of.
that. And yeah, they only have 5 noon games this year, which is actually more than they had
Oh,
last year.
really? I thought
Yeah.
it was even less than that
So I
this
think
year.
they started with like either 3 or 4 noon games. They got flexed out of that game against, I think it was the Broncos, to
Oh, I
add a
see it.
5th noon game, but
Yeah.
they don't play at noon until November 10th. That's their
Yep.
first noon game. So they're those late afternoon or the late window or prime time. So,
Mm-hmm.
but or uh November 17th, which is what is that? Week 11?
Yes.
Yeah, week 11. Okay, I was right. Um at Buffalo, which that game is like appointment television.
Yeah.
Again, just history there. Um and again going to Buffalo this time with a Bills team that is also going to look a little bit different. No Stephon Diggs, no Gabe Davis. So
They have a bunch of like just a guy.
yeah,
They did pick up MVS from the Chiefs. Um, and he's he's a decent, regular season, but he's still like a
it's.
wide receiver 3 guy,
I mean, if he can catch the football, then
Right.
great. But that's
Yeah.
half his problem.
Yeah, the Bills, like, they still have, James Cook, who can be their centerpiece kind of guy. I do see him like being that, but yeah, they have Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel. Still have Dalton Kincaid in there at tight end and Dawson Knox, but that's
Yep.
kind of their wide receiver core is. Oh yeah, they picked up Chase Claypool as well. Like they're just kind of all over the place. This is
Yeah.
middling wide receivers.
And Keon Coleman, he's fun. He's who they drafted this year. He's already has like 3 or 4 just great sound bites from different interviews.
Oh yes, that guy.
So
Okay,
gonna be
he's
a
pretty
super fun player to
Right.
pay attention to.
Yeah.
But he's not Xavier Worthy, which is who the Chiefs drafted.
Oh yeah. Let's go.
So yeah, Bills, again, that's a CBS game, probably a Jim Nantz, Tony Romo game. But let's go. Last year, for the first time, NFL did a Black Friday game. And this year, the Chiefs are going to be the Black Friday game. It'll be the Chiefs and the Raiders in Kansas City, 2:00 on Prime Video. And there's a little, obviously, Chiefs and Raiders, like a lot of history there. But last season, Raiders came into Kansas City and gave the Chiefs one of their worst losses, definitely of last year. Top 3 losses in the Mahomes era.
Right.
So I think the Chiefs probably have this game circled. It's one, it's Black Friday game, but 2, it's the Raiders, and they don't want to have history repeat itself and be, embarrassing on national television, if you can call it that, for streaming. But I like this because I think I don't think the Raiders are going to be good this year, but they have given the Chiefs some juice with some of the things that their coach has said about, the Mahomes rule. We're going to play a little bit more physically this year and all those things. Now, this is the second matchup of the season between the Chiefs and Raiders, but it's always going to be interesting. It's going to be chippy, be physical, and it'll be on Prime Video.
Yeah, it's a weird because the last year's was the Christmas game, wasn't it?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and that's when they got beat at home. And that's what this one will be too. Because yeah, they meet them in week 8 in Vegas, and then here in week 14. Or I'm sorry, week 13. Yeah, at home again in that prime slot. So Yeah, that one should be definitely a fun one there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to jump ahead because this is where things get kind of weird for the schedule. So the NFL has decided that they're just going to make Christmas part of the schedule. And Christmas falls on a Wednesday. And going in after last season, I was like, oh, well, the NBA won't have to worry about the NFL ruining Christmas for them because the NBA has always had Christmas. Like that's their day. And NFL kind of took it over, but we'll get to that in a second. So Chiefs play 3 games in 10 days. They play the Browns on December 15th, then the Texans on the 21st, and then go to Pittsburgh on Christmas Day. So it's going to be just
so weird.
Boom, boom, boom. And that's a lot of football in a very short amount of time. So
at the end of the season too.
And remember, the bye week was week 6. So they're not going to be fresh. So I think maybe you see some strategy and like potentially not necessarily like sitting players, but like just using players differently to keep everybody fresh. And because the Browns should be good. Houston obviously is going to be good. I don't really know like what the Russell Wilson Steelers are going to be. Probably not very great, but 3 games in 10 days is terrible because like the players already complain about having the short week going from a Sunday game to a Thursday. I can't imagine that this has been received well by the players either. So, but I think the big story, Christmas Day. So the NFL and Netflix have come to a deal together where Netflix is going to broadcast live those Christmas Day games. They're going to do 2 this year and at least 1 in 25 and 26. So if you don't have a Netflix subscription, you're going to need it for Christmas Day.
Yeah, obviously us Chiefs fans and I guess Pittsburgh will see those locally, but
you'll get it locally, yeah.
Everybody else, I mean, it's the same as, Thursday night with Prime. But I don't know. I don't like this. I don't think you do either, and it's too much. The NFL has just owned every day of the week essentially, and to hide your some of your prime game on Christmas Day behind a paywall is really that's a very odd choice to me. I mean, they know what they're doing. I think Netflix is probably paying a pretty penny or something, but I don't really see. I feel like hiding away your games on a behind more paywalls is not a good idea.
So
it's annoying.
My thought with the NFL, and I feel like we've said it here on this podcast. I know I've said it on This Is Baseball. The best thing that the NFL has going for it is accessibility.
Yeah.
Games have been up until really the last couple of years have been pretty easy to get. Obviously, like Monday Night Football has always been on cable, but Thursday Night Football you could get some of those, but you had all day on Sunday. You could watch anything. And now you have Prime Video. You have some games that are going to be on ESPN Plus. You have Netflix. We saw a playoff game on Peacock last season. Like they're making it more difficult to access their sport. And that accessibility, again, is kind of, I think, what has been able to propel them into the just king of sports that they are.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we'll cover this on another episode, but yeah, there's even more of those Monday night doubleheaders, that is also baffling. Like, why do they do that? Not only are you putting games on, cable, but you're putting 2 games on cable at the same time. Very odd choices. I mean, they are, as you said, the king, and they know what they're doing, I guess, but it's a very odd thing to do to your fan base and potential new people, like young kids who are trying to watch football and maybe become, new fans. Because don't even get me started on how many streaming platforms there are. That's a whole nother discussion of like, it's already bifurcated so much. You only have enough money and time to like go around all these different services. So they're doing the same thing to NFL games. Kind of weird.
Yeah. I don't love it, but I already have a Netflix subscription, so
Right.
not gonna be that deep for me. But it's just annoying to go like, oh, you want to watch us? Got to pay for this too. So, and I unfortunately, that's not going to go away. That's only probably going to just grow. So,
yeah.
But that is, those are kind of the hits of the schedule. Like I said, obviously when the regular season rolls around, we'll go into depth previewing these games from a week to week basis, but not an easy road for your potential back-to-back-to-back campaign.
Yeah, the three-peat is, ESPN says they're tied for 14th easiest schedule. Just looking at the teams, I think it's pretty cushy. It's not too bad in terms of the big picture. Like the whole season, there's a lot of wins in there that I'm seeing.
You get the NFC South.
The NFC South is huge.
They're terrible.
Right.
And you get 2 against the Broncos and 2 against the Raiders.
Exactly. Yeah. And the Falcons, they're strong, but we're seeing the Falcons in week 3. They are seeing the Falcons, not we. And that's, it's Kirk Cousins, but how much are they going to be, in sync and all this? Like, how strong is that team in week 3 or the whole season? It's like, who knows? I'm not really too concerned with a lot of the NFC South teams, and I don't know. The 3 games in 10 day, I didn't even know that. Like, that's crazy. I'll have to think some more about that. And yeah, that is really interesting that they would do that. And the week 6 bye, doesn't help things either. So it's overall like the teams that they play, the schedule, timing, doesn't help. In the week 6 bye, kind of evens it out to make it a little tougher schedule, I would say. But yeah, they're not really setting the Chiefs up for success for an easy three-peat necessarily. I still think the Chiefs are making playoffs, and then that's when it really matters. So
it shouldn't be easy if you're trying to win your 3rd straight Super Bowl. That's never been done.
Right.
So it shouldn't be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
So I'm not
my point is the NFL it's not rigged.
Yeah.
To all the haters, all the rigged people and the Chiefs haters is like, give me a break. You can't sit here and point and be like, well, the Chiefs have this easy road. It's like they're getting a lot of things going against them this year. So, yeah, I think that'll do it for us.
I think so. Thanks so much for listening this week. We will we'll catch you in a couple weeks. See ya.